All across the internet and social platforms, aspiring musicians are sharing their music with the world, which is cool. But despite living in the age of technology, some musicians are still going back to the basics as they audition for any gig opportunity and turn up every open mic night with a set list in hand. Now, singer-songwriter Hameer Zawawi is one of these musicians getting their music out there the old-fashioned way, and he's obviously doing something right because he's paved the way for his very own scene in the local independent music scene. Get that? That's a tongue twister right there. By the way, he's doing this with his own genre, by the way, which is fantasy folk music. Have you heard that?
I have no idea what's that.
We're about to get a good explanation of what it's about. So he joins us in the studio today. Thank you, my friend, for joining us. I love the genre, by the way.
Thank you so much.
You know what? His name itself is unique. It's Hameer Zawawi. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah, Hameer Zawawi.
Okay, so Hameer, you know, maybe you could start by telling us.
Yeah, but you could. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Go on.
I knew I was wrong, but it's okay.
Sorry.
So Hameer, maybe you could backtrack and tell us, you know, when did you start singing? And you know, was it since you were a kid?
Well, I started singing when I was a kid, definitely.
Yeah.
I started off at the age of 9. I mean, I come from a family of musicians. I kind of grew up with music in the family, and that somewhat got instilled in me at a very young age. So at the age of 9, you know, I just started listening to Dad playing live shows, and then growing up to seeing my brother when I was 15. My brother started singer-songwriter Ring as well, and I got exposed to that at a very early age. So, I mean,
talented family lah.
Okay, yeah, I guess you could say that as well in a way. And just taking lessons from them. Whenever I come back home, you know, you always have this motivation to like, oh, I wanna try something. If you know they can do it on stage, why not?
Right. So was your dad one of those dads who just gave you a guitar maybe or something like that and said, go ahead, try and learn? Or did he guide you to grow, you know, slowly and just learn it the right way?
Former.
The former.
So he just gave me the guitar and basically taught me a few chords.
Okay.
And same thing happened with my older brother as well. Same thing, he just passed the guitar, taught a few chords, and from then on, I learned it by myself.
Wow.
I mean, I did go for guitar lessons, but it was really brief. And it was really
Online,
simple.
perhaps?
No, it was on site at this place called Amcot Mall. But really brief. But after that, everything I learned by myself. And
Right. Okay, so, you know, do you think, you know, it was particularly because of your talented family, you know, it naturally, music came as like, you know, second nature to you guys, like, you know, that was the reason why it drove you towards doing music and wanting to do music?
Yeah, I guess somewhat you could say that. I mean, every time I see people, I mean, my family members perform on stage, again, I would come back and I get inspired. And when Rendra, my older brother, he started singing as well.
Rendra Zawawi,
correct. And he started performing as well in the scene. At the age of 15, I was at the age of 15 when I saw him go on stage, performing with, you know, all the upcoming singer-songwriters that time, which was like Reza Saleh, Zalil Ali, Mia Palencia, and I'd see them on stage, and then I'll be like, wow, these guys are epic, and that kind of inspired me to go back and, you know, try compose my own stuff, and getting inspired by them, essentially from the scene itself.
Wow.
That comes from a really good stem of names you've just mentioned, the musicians there, along with your family. But do you remember any advice they gave you with regards to, you know, learning the art of music?
Actually, nobody really gave me advice, aside from my mum, who told me to sing from the perut, and that was
No, it's actually your diaphragm?
Diaphragm, yeah. And not from the throat. And, you know, slowly that got to me like, what does she mean by that? And, you know, slowly trying to incorporate that. But in terms of technicalities of playing the guitar, technicalities of singing, it was pretty much self-taught.
Oh, wow.
In the toilet, you know, singing while showering.
That's where every great superstar has gone, by the way.
From some place, like
some place or the other.
Corner.
So I'm sure you still do some breathing exercises now, right? Now that you know you mentioned it just now.
Nowadays, I sometimes do more of a singing warm-up. But breathing exercise tak sangat.
So Roshan, we did mention the title name in the beginning of the show. This is the main thing that we want to know. Well, you know, I've been a musician myself for quite some time, but I have no idea what fantasy folk stands for. I know folk music though.
Right.
But fantasy folk, how does that work?
Okay, I'm a very big video gamer.
Okay.
I watch a lot of TV series. So I take inspirations from all these sources. I mean, sometimes, when you play a video game while you load a game, it's loading. You pick up the guitar, you just come up with songs and whatnot. A lot of my songs, lyrics-wise and theme-wise, it's very fictitious, very fantasy-like. And I mean, this is also by feedback from my friends who always watch me live. They say, hey, Hameer, when I see you play live, it's very theatrical. I feel like I can imagine stuff
that's true.
coming out. And I was like, oh, like, very fantasy related. Like, yeah, very fantasy and fantasy folk. That was what I came up with.
So it is folk.
It is folk still.
It's a combination of fantasy and folk.
Correct.
You mentioned video games just now. I mean,
Right.
how do you go about incorporating that into visually representing your music?
So I actually, in fact, one of the CDs, my debut CD, which I released earlier this year, featured actually artwork from a concept artist from a game studio. And I thought that was really personal, like to incorporate that as well. And I used to study programming for video games.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And,
that explains it. Lah.
And, taking influences from all this, it was just, it makes sense to do it, I felt.
Zombie games happen to be one of your favorite
Yeah,
games?
man, of course. Zombie games.
Yeah, I knew it, because he's got a song called Zombie Town, right?
Yeah.
Right, so it's interesting. This song, if you see the music video, you see most artists that I know personally or, in the industry, when they come up with a music video, it's always about themselves. Of course, they want to portray themselves in the video itself.
Right.
But in your video, it's so unique that you've got this cartoonic figures, almost caricaturish, if you could say. Why? The reasoning behind that, why?
Well,
why not yourself?
Yeah, why not myself? You're right. Good question. I mean, the songs, when you listen to them, even for me, I mean, I might be a bit biased because of my own songs, but whenever I listen to them, and I don't know, I just have a visualization of something which is not real, like something which is fantasy. I mean, something which is very artwork related.
Yeah.
And when you make a music video, you do have references. So, I've tried out time-lapse videos on the songs. I've tried other reference kind of videos on it, but the one thing which stood out, I felt, was having a cartoon-like music video over Zombie Town, especially.
Right. And it looks very detailed, though. So, how much time did you have to put into it to actually get it done?
Well, to my surprise, when I was researching about music, I was researching about zombie-related cartoons online, I stumbled upon an artist who goes by Guy Collins Animation. He's Australian, I think. But I approached him and, hey, could I use some of your videos to be made into the music video of Zombie Town? And he gave a listen to the song and he straight away replied like, hey, yeah, dude,
why not?
Go on. Like take my videos. And actually, the music video consists of a video series by Guy Collins Animation, of which is a combined episode of episode 1 and 2 of his series, and it fitted like really well with the music.
It did. Yeah, I have to say,
it's really refreshing as well to watch that because you got so many music videos out there. There's a boy, there's a girl. Especially with your genre of music. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's just always.
I was kind of expecting zombies in the video.
But just going back to your artist per se, you remain independent. You're not going to go mainstream. I mean, what was the reason behind that?
Right. I mean, everybody has to start off from somewhere, and I felt it was important to start off from scratch, and I think going independent was the best way to do that. And when I say it's the best way to start off, because you get to learn, you get exposed to how things work when you're from the ground up, and I'm glad I actually chose this way rather than approaching a label, getting signed and whatnot, because this way I get to be more personal with the people I play with, more personal with the scene in general, because the independent scene in KL, at least, is very small. And if you're under a label, you might not get that personal and intimacy with the people you meet.
Yeah, that's true.
And being independent, that opens up that kind of exposure to you. And not only that, I mean, like, even when I was releasing my CD, I did everything mostly myself, 100% of it. I mean, the artwork was my friend, but I was there all the way, and it opened up this learning process, like, how do you master a CD, how do you press it, and how do you design the cardboard Photoshop, like what? I'm not a Photoshop guy, but suddenly I learned everything, and
Right.
that was a good learning process. And I feel being independent is a good way to start off. And then later on, once you're used to the ropes, you know how things work, then maybe you get yourself signed. And, you know, at least you know you tak kena tipu ke, apa ke, you know? Just saying.
Video games, but he doesn't know how to Photoshop.
Hey, he can sing better than the both of us. Okay?
Okay. Maybe speak for yourself. You know, talking about sustaining in the industry, you know, I mean, people out there have this perception of, you know, all singers make a lot of money, regardless whether you're indie or you're mainstream or whatever. Tell us what the challenges you face as an indie artist.
Well, yeah, I guess financially that's I mean, because just at the end of the day, not everybody likes to fork out money for something which they can't really feel in hand, you know, merchandise-wise. I mean, like you see, if you were to see a perform, it's just, you know, particles in the air, you know, they can't really like. But I think the biggest challenge for me is, as an independent musician, is the balance between managing myself and making sure my creative output is of a standard which I am satisfied with, because I'm my own team at the moment. And you know, if you have a team behind you, that's nice. You know, they get to organize things for you, and all you need to do is just focus on the creative process. But I think the biggest challenge for me now is trying to balance that. You know, trying to manage myself as a brand and as a performer, at the same time making sure that the songs are of my quality lah. And
trust me when I say this, the quality is right up there. I've had the pleasure of listening to local and international artists. You're really, really up there. But you mentioned that time when, you know, you've figured the ropes out and you've decided to move from, you know, independent and go mainstream. Will that ever occur when it comes to your music?
Well, I feel like if a team or a label would want to approach me, I mean, as long as I get to retain my sound, retain my kind of singing, my kind of composition.
Creative control.
Creative control, there you go. Without, you know, them getting in the way. I might consider it, and, you know, I got to look at the bigger picture. I mean, if it's relevant to my purpose, then I'll consider it.
Fair enough.
Okay, which does work for some artists actually. It totally depends.
Yeah.
Right. All right. You know what, Hameer, thank you so much for your time. You know, keep, like I said, keep fighting the good fight, and
Thank you.
the fact that you're different, you know, really puts you out there.
Hope so. Thanks.
All the best. All the best.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you. It is really inspiring to have someone like you on the show to inspire a kid out there who wants to start the right way, in my opinion. Thank you so much. Fantasy folk, by the way. That's interesting.
Reminds me of Final Fantasy again. I'm sure Hami plays it.